Hello and welcome to another Purveyor of Light Photoshop quick tip. Today we've got one a user wrote in and wanted to have some clarification on how to do selections within Photoshop. And I can understand the confusion there because selections, there's probably 20 different ways to do selections within Photoshop. And depending on your need and the photo, it's hard to choose or how to work each one. So I'm just going to cover some of the basics today. I'm not going to cover them all because we would be here all day if I was going to sit there and go through all the different selection methods. But I'm going to go through the most common ones. Okay? So here's what every software manufacturer, Adobe and everybody else that has a quick selection ability, they pick a photo like this, right? Nice clean background, nice and easy. No hard selections, right? And that's the one they display in their demo. And then you go home with real photos and you go, how do I do it when there's something in the background or something doesn't match there or I'm missing a piece here? So I'm going to go ahead and cover the different scenarios today. Hopefully not bore you too much. Again, this is a beginner's tutorial. So if you're already well versed in selections and that, this is definitely not the video for you. But for those of us that need a little introduction or a little refresher on selections, this is exactly what you need. Okay, so here I've got a photo, and again, nice clean background, what makes selections really easy. I can come over to the toolbar here, and I can select the quick selection brush, okay? And that's right here, okay, your quick selection brush. And then I would just size my brush so that, it's a decent size. And then I would start drawing in the area that I want to select. And the further I click and drag, the greater the selection goes. And I just keep clicking until I get the selection that I want. And I watch the dancing ants to make sure that I'm getting all the areas that I want. Now, you see, I've made a mistake there. And now I'm selecting the edge of the photo, and I didn't want that. Okay, not a problem. I can turn around and come up to the top here, and I have three tools. Okay, one is to add, one is a new, one is to remove. So if I hit the remove one, okay, and then I just stay within the lines, you'll see that it's correcting the selection for me. And again, it may take a pass or two to get it right. May want to zoom in for a little better accuracy. And there we go. Okay. And if I needed to add to an area, I just use the add tool. Now, this tool works great for rough selections. Okay. But as I can see here, you can see that it didn't do a very good job in the hair. So we're definitely, we're a little rough. Okay. A little jagged. It's not going to be a very good selection. And this was a perfect photo for it, right? There's nothing better than a perfectly clean background. But let's see what it does. So now that I have my selection and I hit the mask icon and boom, it puts a layer mask on it. And now you can see just how bad the selection was. You can see the hair is literally being chopped. It's jagged. Not very, very good. It wouldn't work very well on a composite. Just to demonstrate here, I'll come down and do a solid color adjustment. And I'll pick some crazy red or something. And I will put that below the photo. And now we can see just how bad our selection was. Okay. So pretty bad. We've got holes here and holes there, and we could go back and, with the brush and start adding or subtracting from the selection. But this is just not a method that I recommend, but it's the one that most people start out with, is because it's right here on the bar, the quick selection tool. Okay. It only works well for the most basic of things. Okay. So I don't recommend this at all. And fortunately, Photoshop has a lot better selection tools built into the product. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw that away. And I'm going to throw away this layer mask. And I'm going to delete it and put the photo back. Okay. So now we're starting fresh. Okay, so this time we are not going to use the quick selection brush. But this time we are going to come up here and you'll notice we have a toolbar across, and one of the things is select subject. And this is one of those great tools that Adobe has put in that has a little bit of intelligence. Okay, they call it Adobe Sensing and so forth. Let's see how it does. So I'm going to click select subject. And it's thinking, and there it goes. And you can see that's looks like it did a pretty good job, actually. I'll go ahead and make a layer mask. And just like we did before, no refinement. And I'll go ahead and put another solid adjustment layer. Pick a hideous red. All right, put that below the layer so we can see it. But you can see right off the bat, it's done a much better job. You remember the gaps between her arms weren't selected, and that you can see that's nice and clean there. The selections have been made. So much better. Let's see how it did in the hair, because hair, that's the number one thing right there is the hair. Now Adobe Sensing Hair did pretty good. You can see a little bit in the hair area here where it needs a little bit of refining, but it did a pretty decent job. Okay, so this is actually the method I say you start with. Okay, save the magic wand for some other examples. I would start with the select subject when available. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the mask here, or not. Actually, I'm not going to delete it. We can see that we're pretty good, but we're not perfect. If I select the mask, now make sure when you click on your mouse, you notice that has a white border over the picture, and now it has a white border over the mask. Okay, I want you to be on the mask. All right, and then I want you to come back up and go select and mask this time. So don't select subject, just hit select and mask. All right, and now this brings us to a whole new dialog here. And we have a bunch of tools, and you'll notice the first thing we have is a quick selection tool. We have a refine edge. We have a brush tool, and we have an object selection, a lasso tool, hand move, and zoom tool. Okay, so using the refine brush, okay, to refine the edge, we can refine edges that Adobe didn't get right. And I can see right here on the hair, it didn't get that right. So I'm going to just, using my brush, and I'm going to draw in where I feel it didn't do the best jobs. Okay, and then let go. And you can see now we're starting to refine the hair, and it's doing a much better job. Okay, of getting that to be more believable. And you can see, there we go, we've cleaned up the hair, and if we found any halos or anything, we can just come right over and do the exact same thing. Okay, and so now that I've refined it, we lay it out again and we put it on the mask, and we now have a new layer with a new mask, and you could see that, hey, not bad. Adobe did pretty good. So that's method number 2 on your selections. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one. We'll go to another photo here. Okay, here we have one a little more realistic, right? We're inside a house or a studio, and we're doing a little yoga on the mat. We've got something on the wall here. We've got some shadows. A little bit more difficult, but let's see how we do. So how do we start? Well, we start with select subject, right? And if you don't want to come up here, you can always go up to select on the menu and just hit select and mask anytime you feel like it. It's exactly the same thing. All right. So by default, you're going to start off with an onion skin at 50%. That's how you're going to be by default. It allows you to see the area that's being masked, okay, so that you can get an indication of what you're selecting. So it's going to start this way, and it's called onion skin because you could peel the onion, as they say. So again, the tools, I have a refine edge, I have a quick selection. So let's start with the quick selection, and I'm going to use a nice brush here, and I'm going to start clicking and dragging, and you can see as I clicked and drag, it started to make the selection on the subject. I come in, do a little more, and I can come in and you can see how this works here. And again, don't worry about anything you do because everything you're doing is non-destructive. All right, and well, we need her foot, huh? All right, so there, maybe her arm, a little bit of the shoulder. Okay, now one of the things you should do when you're working with selections, okay, is this view mode up top here in the upper right. Okay, you can pull down on this and you have several different views to choose from. Which one is the right one to use? All of them. Okay, when you're working with it, each picture will give you a better communication on what's going on depending on the picture. So right now we're on selected on the onion peel, all right, at 50%, and that's what it looks like at 100%. It's not the best, it's not perfect. I have a missed area here, okay, so because I have a missed area, let's see what that would look like on black. And you can see there's mistakes showing up, right? We can see jagged on the shoulder. We can have areas that were missed here, okay? Let's see how it looks on white. On white, it doesn't tell us as much, but we can still see some defects in the hair, the shoulder. And black and white shows you what the mask actually looks like, okay? I don't find this incredibly useful, but it is there as an option. And on layer is a last option, and that's if you had a background already in the document, you could show that background by putting on layers, and the background would show through here. Okay, so let me show you how that would work. So I am going to cancel this here, and I'm going to put a layer, a background in here, and I'm going to say, okay, give me a gradient, and I'm going to select, there we go. I'm going to select this gradient here, and boom, now I've got the background. I'm going to put it behind the picture. All right. Drag it here and drag it underneath. Okay, so now we have a gradient underneath our picture that we're working with. Now, because we have this, all right, we can now use that view option in select. So let me go ahead and select. And again, select and mask. And now I'm looking at what it looks like on layers. So instead of having the onion skin, okay, I can turn around and say, well, here it is on overlay, here it is on black. I can look and see how things look. I can also turn around and say, how does it look on the layers that it's going to be on? I find that very useful because that gives you an accurate representation of what you're going to wind up with in the end, how the two backgrounds and the foreground images mix. Okay, so there we go. We have a pretty good mix. So we come zoom in and we can move around and we can see, look at that. We have just a little bit of haloing effect in the hair, a couple strands here missed. Yeah, you can see right here we're missing some of the hair. Okay, so let's see if we could do any improvement on this. So right in here, I have our tools, right? And one of them is to refine the edge, all right? And if I just turn around and do on the edge, we'll see what it does. Okay. Go over it and you say, oh, that did much better. How's it do over here? Not bad, not bad. But we'll undo that because it's not a silver bullet. And one of the things that you'll find out about selections and the automated tools such as this is it's an amazing tool, but they're not perfect. Okay. So when it comes down to a certain image, you're going to have to put in the extra work to complete the selection to get a quality product out. Okay. So we could see right there, we've got some missed pieces. So here I could turn around and come in and using my toolkit, I can use the brush tool. Okay. And I can minus the selection, use a small brush, and then I can just literally come in and paint where it made the mistake or didn't do a very good job. Okay. And again, this could be a little tedious, depending on how much you have to do. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time here doing a perfected job. I'm just demonstrating how it works. And we'll call that good enough for now. And we've cleaned up that selection. And we would do the same thing for any areas else that were messed up on the hair. Again, we could come in and do some adjustments on the hair, adjust the brush, and you could move away these straggly hairs that take away from the picture, and you continue on working with the image that way. Okay? So, on this one here, the last thing here is you can know is you have a choice on how you want it to be output. See, here it's saying it's going to be a selection. And I find the best way is to always use new layer with a layer mask, because this way is non-destructive and we can always come back and make some refinements. So always select new layer with layer mask. And there we are. Okay, so that's good. Now we're moving in levels of difficulty, right? We've gone from an absolutely piece of cake solid thing to a little more in here, and let's increase the difficulty. And now we're dealing with a little more difficulty. All right, I want you to see, look at the problems that are in this thing. You may not see them right away, but let's go look at her arm here. We've got some kind of like sunlight hitting it, and it's actually causing a blowout in the arm. That's going to cause a problem. If we look at her face and look at the hair, all this light area, we could see that, but I don't think Adobe's going to be that good, right? We're going to have to do a little extra work to get this particular picture to work as a selection. So let's see what we can do. Okay. So we'll start out with the photo and move that over there. And let's see. Okay. So we're going to do the same principles we've been doing. We're going to go select subject, and we can look and go, okay, how did it do? Right. And we could come in and say, whoa, she missed all the great hair. That's all gone. If we look at the face and the nose, there wasn't enough contrast for her to complete the face. So that's a problem. Well, a little bit of defect there, right? And the shoulder braces. Okay. And you can see this one, we're going to have a little more work. Now, is it a great problem? No, not really. Okay. All we're going to do is build on what we know already. Okay. So we have selected the subject. Now we're going to do a selected mask. We're going to build on that, right? Select subject, and we're going to build on that. And it gives us our view, onion peel, right? By default, it goes to onion skin so we can still see the photo at 50%, okay? So I like to move on, find out whether it's black or white. That gives me the best view. Now we're looking at the hair here specifically. And you notice her face is cut out. So this is good everything. So let's deal with the hair. I usually do hair last, but for demonstration purposes here, let's see what a Photoshop can do. So I'll try to do a refine edge. Select that tool, and then I will try to do the hair and see what it comes up with. Okay, so that did a pretty decent job actually. Okay, and so then we come into the face, and we can see here how jagged we are. We're missing a good part of her cheek. Okay, and no amount of automation tools are going to help us here. Okay, this is where you got to come in and do some work, and it could be tedious. It could take some time, but again, you turn around and put a brush in, and then you start to bring in what's missing in the photo. And again, you're going to take great care when you do yours. Okay, I'm just going to go very quickly, and you can see up here in the forehead, I'm doing the same thing. And don't worry about going too far, because you can always go the other way. So let me show you here. I'll just go too far. Okay. So then I just switch my brush to negative, and I can remove the selection there. Okay. So again, tedious? Yes. A little bit of work? Yes. But hopefully you won't have, a major part of your photo have to do this. Okay? So we fixed the hair a little bit, we've done just things, and we just go through, sliding through up and down through the photo to find the problem areas. We check everything in detail, and we do the best we can. Like here we have a little bit of a halo maybe. So again, refine edge, and take your brush down and see what it can do. If you don't like the results that it does, you can always hit Command or Control Z, and that will undo it. Okay. And we'll come down to the other foot. Okay, now here's something that I definitely feel I saw in the original photo, and I'm not seeing here. I could be wrong, but let's go ahead and take a look at the original photo. Yes, I was right. Okay. If you look right here, right now, you can see shoelaces flying in the air. And our current mask selection is cutting them completely off. Now, most people may not have caught that, but it caught my eye right off the bat that the shoestrings were in the air. So if I put it back into the onion skins, and you notice that's how I'm changing views all the time, right? Because that's how we work. And I'm going to try to refine the edge here and see if it can pick it up. Okay. And now let's take a look at it on black. It's better, but it's not perfect. Okay, so it will require a little more work. So we zoom in here, and we would do a little bit of cleanup and make sure it's negative, and we would do a little cleanup on this to make it more believable. Okay. And again, why am I showing this? I'm just showing you this is real. This is real life. These are real photos. And no matter how much the manufacturers are going to preach to you that, look, click, click, and you have a perfect selection. It just doesn't happen in the real world, and it doesn't happen on 90% of the photos. Okay? So don't get discouraged about this, but you can see there's nothing hard here. It's just tedious sometimes, and sometimes the cleanup. All right, so lastly, I'm just going to explain here the other options on this dialog box. You can see that the leg here is having a little bit of a halo effect, and maybe it's jagged, and you can come into this dialog here and you can change the smoothness to smooth out the selection. Okay, and the further you go, the smoother the selection will be. It'll try to take the jaggeds away. Okay, if you watch here in the sock, I'll go over this, and then you can see how it changes based on this. Now, I don't know how that's going to show up on the video, but trust me, if you have jaggies, you're going to want to put a little bit of smoothing in. And then you have a feather. Okay, I don't recommend feather at all. Feather is softening the edges, and you don't want to do that. Contrast, that helps select the edges a little better. So I would always recommend some contrast. Now you see what's happening here. Okay, so you always have to watch how far you go and don't go too far. Okay, and okay, so I'm going to go right about here. And then the last thing is to shift the edge. Okay, now you still see that we still have some halos in some areas. Shifting the edge will allow us to shift the selection in or away from the subject. So if we select it in, and I'm going to over exaggerate it, you see that? Okay, so if I go back, you see the halo on the knee and the back of the calf. Okay, and then if I say, hey, retract it. Okay, I've moved the selection in, and now I have a nice clean selection. Okay, so that's it for basic selections. Okay, so again, just to recap, we'll just cut this one right in, and we will just recap here how to do this. Pick any selection tool you wish. Okay, or you can come up to select and select subject. Adobe will do its very best. Then once we have this basic selection, we hit select and mask. We then determine which skin we want to use, okay, which looks best to us. We go through them, and again, what works best for your eyes, and lets you see things. Okay, so if I go with onion skin, and I go, okay, this looks pretty good, but I need to refine the hair a little bit. Look at the hair. It's not exactly, let me see what it looks like in black. Oh yeah, look at the hair, right? If I put it on white, it looks a little better, but it doesn't show the true stories. But I put it on black, I can really see the problem with the hair. I could hit the refine brush, or I could try refine hair up here on the button. So we'll try that. And you can see, I don't know, that didn't look too hot. See how it looks on white? No, it looks terrible. So it didn't do a good job. So Command or Control Z to undo. All right, and we'll do it the old-fashioned way. We will do it on our manual tools. So we take the refine brush, and then we just come in and we'll do a little bit of work at a time, and we'll work the hair and work it slow, try to make the changes, and we will just keep working the hair like that until we get the selection that we want. And again, I'm not going to waste your time going through this, but that's the basic process. When you're happy with your selection, you go through and you do any smoothing or contrast to help the selection a little better. Okay, you could shift the edge in if you wish, okay, to reduce less or more. Okay, and when you're all happy with your results, come down to the output and new layer with mask and hit OK, and there we are. We have our selection and we're ready to go. And that's all there is for the basic selections. Okay, now like I said, there are about 20 different more methods of doing it. These are the basics. Okay, these are the basics, the easiest ones to master. So grab your photos, Start messing around with selections. See how well you can do. See how well you can make adjustments on the masks that it produces. And most of all, have fun. That's how we all learn. And by the more you do, the better you learn. All right? Till next week, you guys take care.